Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and it's part 2 of the 4-part review special of the monster tanks, and today we're looking at the Gorynych KV-5, and once again I apologise in case I've got the name of that, or the pronunciation, sorry, wrong, or as I kept calling it yesterday because I kept getting the name wrong, the Gorynych, yeah, KV-5, so yeah, I think that's might be what I'm going to call it from now on, the Gorynych. Now, I'll give you some of the basic numbers of this. In fact, no, I'm not going to give you the basic numbers just yet. Let's have a little talk about it first. Now, I mentioned very briefly yesterday that you can earn some of these tanks. Now, the T-71, the Panther and the Kaiju are all earnable, and that's in an op that starts on the 10th of this month. Wargaming haven't released the details yet, but they have said that it's going to be something to do with kills, as far as I'm aware, from the news feeds. So, the only way to get the KV-5 Gorinich at the minute is to buy it in the Ultimate Bundle, which gets you all 4 tanks and does have a very hefty price tag. You are saving 20% on the tanks and all the equipment, but it is still a lot of gold at 34,500. They all come with their own crew, like I say, a specific crew. The Panther comes with that special skill. They all come with an ASOP, and Wargaming have actually given you 2 weeks instead of a week for these ones, because normally it's just 7 days for your ASOP. And they all have times 2 XP for the duration of, from what I can figure out, the duration of the month while the op's running. And also, they also have a drop, a bit like they did with the Centennial and the Hammer. If you win a match in one of these, you will get some random either equipment or a day of premium or 2,000 silver. There's a few bits and bobs, and I shall look those up and outline them in tomorrow's review. But yes, this is the one that you can't earn, and it is also not being released separately. The other 3 are going to be in an Ultimate Bundle, which is going to be released in a few days, and then each one separately in a loaded and then a base pack as well. But this is the one that people are saying, is it worth it? Is it worth shelling out all that money for all 4 tanks just to get this one? And I can't make that decision for you. All I can do is give you the details of it, show you how it plays, and let you make up your own mind. So, big KV-5, it's a tier 8 premium Russian heavy, and it is a big tank. It's got a 1200 horsepower engine, and to be honest, it needs it. It's got 107mm ZIS 7, I think it is. No, ZIS 6M, the gun, which gives it a bit lower alpha damage, but a lot better rate of fire than a lot of the other ones. I'll give you the basic stats of the gun. So, like I say, 7 rounds a minute, 167 pen on your standard rounds with 300 damage. Same for the premium rounds with 219 pen though, and then 54 and 360 for your HE. Aiming time is 2.86 seconds, which is actually not bad for some of these higher tier Russian heavies, but it's still not brilliant. And again, accuracy is pretty typically Russian at 0.43. Your basic numbers on the turret are 180 on the front, 150 on the sides, and 140 on the rear, and the actual turret traverse is 21.25 according to the Tankopedia, which is quite an odd amount. View range, again, fairly typically Russian at 350, signal range awful at 440, and the whole traverse is 18 degrees a second, so it's not manoeuvrable. It's got a top speed of 40 kilometers an hour, and it will do it just, but when you're going downhill, this, honestly, if you can get somebody at the bottom of a hill and go speeding down it and ram them, you will destroy them. Like I say, it's a very heavy tank, and it's very well armoured. Now, the basic numbers for the hull armour are 180 on the front, 150 on the sides, and 140 on the rear, the same as the turret. But again, that doesn't quite tell you the whole story. So we'll go into that, and let's have a look at it now. Right, we have reload time of 8.57 seconds, which again is not bad. The rate of fire at 7 is alright actually. Concealment is awful, which is understandable. It's absolutely massive. Does 11 kilometers in reverse, and it only has a power to weight ratio of 12.02, so it is a bit sluggish. You know, you don't want to be dogfighting in this because things will just get around you, and there are plenty of places to be penned actually, which I was quite surprised about. I'm not going to give you any play tips in this just yet, not in the garage anyway. Hopefully I'll be able to when I've got the videos up and running, but I was struggling with this a little bit. I don't mind admitting that. I'm not a very good KV-5 driver at the minute. So the gun does not go very far back in the turret. It's quite a small target to hit in there, so if you are going to take the gun out, you want to try and hit the actual front part of it. There's your tracks, which obviously act as spaced arm, and you've got those small gaps through to the hull. Big fat turret. Radio, for anybody who's interested, is somewhere. Oh, there we go. They keep moving these radios and putting them in odd places, so it's down in the front actually. And ammunition are in the sides, which fortuitously are just through the gaps in the track. So if you're a good shot or you're up close, you could try and hit those ammo racks. And in the back of the turret, in fact, it takes up the whole of the back of the turret. So if you're shooting this thing from the back, hit that big flat bit up there. And then the crew, 4 crew members up in the actual turret itself, and then you've got 2 crew members, 1 in the small turret on the right of the tank as we're looking at it, and 1 in the left, in the one affectionately known as R2-D2. Now the armour, and this is where, yeah, we start to see that these numbers don't quite tell the whole story. So 1 to 20mm is the tracks, and I thought there was something else on the tank, but no, can't quite see it. So you've got the tracks there. 21 to 30. Do you know, some of these are that small that I'm struggling to find them. Well, somewhere on it, 21 to 30, which I think may be something to do with those viewports possibly on that turret. You've got the 31 to 50, which is the tops of the turrets, the top of the hull, the top of the actual turret itself, the big one, and that massive engine deck, which is a very good thing for artillery players who can hopefully plant one straight onto the engine deck and take one of these out quite easily. 71 to 90, and again, they're not making it easy for me to find these. It doesn't help me being colourblind. Ah, there you go. Now it says 140 across the rear of the tank, but as you can see, that's between 71 and 90, and I'm assuming because it's a darker colour that it is closer to 90, but that's certainly a long way from 140. Now 91 to 120, you've got that R2-D2 turret on the front, which is a pretty major weak spot, and if you're going to get penned, I'll be honest, it's generally through that. The PC KV-5, as Jingles was on about, has actually had a buff to the armour of that and a few other bits as well, and also that flat plate just behind the turret in front of the engine. Now when these are side scraping, if you can't see that frontal turret but you can get a shot on that flat plate in front of the engine, it's a good place to hit and pen if you're accurate enough. 121 to 160, well, that's basically, they say the turret and the side is 150, and that looks about right, and it's also the front of those turret cheeks. Now I was side scraping in a match and I kept getting penned through that angle there, the one that I'm looking at, and they were aiming at the front and it just kept penning through there. So I don't know if they were using premium ammunition or they were using something else, but also the cupolas on top are good weak spots, and I've been penned through that larger of the turrets on the right as we're looking at it. Cupola, sorry. Now 161 to 190, well, the front is supposed to be 180 and it looks like it's pretty much 180 upper and lower plate, which is unusual. The lower plates are normally weaker. The front of the turret is 180 and it's got a massive thick gun mantle that, I mean, if people are shooting at the front of your turret, they're either going to hit the gun mantle most of the time, which is more than likely going to bounce, or they're going to hit that R2-D2 turret in the front, in which case it's more than likely going to pen. You have a very slight slope on your turret front, but it's not quite enough, and I have been penned through the front of the turret by either lucky or very well placed shots from the enemy team. And the smaller of the turrets on the front, which I'm assuming is the driver's cupola, is actually quite well armoured. It's the same armour, or it looks to be the same armour as the front of the turret as well. And 191 to 230, which is, oh yes, there we go, one little strip across the back side of the tank, so they'd have to be very lucky to actually hit that. But it's again, that's higher than the 140. The rest of the back of the tank, yeah, I mean, that might be 140 on the lower part of it, but that upper part there is definitely not, and that can be easily penned as well. Skill wise, well, it's the crew that I've left in it, so I'm working on repairs. Your very typical heavy tank skills. I'll work on repairs, then I'll probably swap it out for track mechanic, work on repairs again. then maybe swap it out for something like off-road driving or the clutch braking, something like that, to try and improve that manoeuvrability slightly. Equipment wise, I've just left the equipment on it that I got with it, which is a vertical stabilizer, a gun lane drive, and a gun rammer, just to improve, well, I've left the gun rammer on to improve the rate of fire a little bit more, because it can catch people out at times. Now, I think that is about it, to be honest. The op and the base bundles and various other things on the World of Tanks website, I have actually got access to those. Anybody can go and have a look at them. They're on the news feed on the World of Tanks console website, but I will actually outline those tomorrow as well and give you a quick rundown of the prices that are available. But like I say, this is the one that you cannot earn. You can earn one of the other three, but you can't earn this one. So I think that's enough of that. We'll get into it. We'll see how this thing actually plays, and then hopefully it might, you may be able to make your mind up, or you may wait to see if the other two are worth it as well. So yeah, I am going to shut up now. I've said it a couple of times already, but this is it. We'll go and see how it plays. In fact, before we go and see how it plays, I nearly forgot again. Silver bonus and XP bonus. 50% silver bonus and a 15% XP bonus, and also gun traverse. These from the Tankopedia in the console companion app, and they have been wrong before. In fact, I found out the other day that the Conqueror values and I think it was the Centurion 1 values in there were actually wrong, so take it with a pinch of salt. But it says -7 for the gun, which is actually not bad for a Russian, and +22 for gun elevation. And the eagle-eyed of you that watched my video yesterday on the Revenant Panther, where I gave a little sneak peek of this, will have seen that it said plays up to tier 10, and yesterday it did in fact play up to tier 10. I got in a lot of tier 10 matches and did absolutely terrible. I couldn't pen anything, barely anything I came up against I couldn't pen it, and that's even with premium ammunition. And one of the things I was going to say about this is that I cannot understand why it's a tier 10 with that gun, because it just wasn't competitive. And I'm not just moaning, I mean seriously, it just was not competitive. The 112 has a gun with 175mm pen, and I think one of Wargamer's reasons for that having premium matchmaking was that the gun couldn't be competitive in a tier 10 match. This has got 167 and played up to tier 10. And then I got up this morning, put it on, and it only plays up to tier 9 now. So whether that was a mistake from Wargaming or they've had a lot of complaints and addressed it, I couldn't tell you. But you can be competitive in a tier 9 match, you just have to play it a bit more cautiously. And again, the look of it, I did forget to mention the look. I like it. I think it's red. Like I say, I am colourblind, red-green deficient, which is why I have the purple team instead of the red team. And I do like the look of this. A Gorinich, which I again, so forgetful. A Gorinich, I had to look this up. According to Google, is a Slavic dragon, usually 3-headed, that breathes fire and walks on its hind legs. Hence why they've called the KV-5 Gorinich, because it's got its big turret and then it's got its two little smaller turrets on the front. So now I'm going to shut up. Now we're going to get into some gameplay. So here we are for the first one. It's on Ensk. It's a team destruction and it's a tier 8 matchup, and I would have really liked to have brought you some ace tanker footage like I did with the Crafts Panther yesterday, but I've got to be completely honest with you, I'm struggling with the KV-5. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad tank, it really isn't, but I am struggling with it a little bit. I mean, from the figures, I mean, obviously there's the weak spot, the turret on the front, but it's it's basically got the same armour as a KV-4. And at first I started trying to play it a bit like the KV-4, you can get in a little bit, and it didn't really work because of that weak spot on the front, which is fair enough, and I thought it probably wouldn't. It is very good at side scraping. It's better side scraping with the building sort of to your right, so you're looking around the left of it, because it hides that machine gun turret on the front. In fact, it is an awesome side scraper, but I've just not been having very good games in it. I don't think I'm a very good KV-5 driver. I am going to keep trying in it, obviously, and hopefully over the next sort of week I'll be able to bring you something, you know, maybe some ace tanker or, you know, a really great game. But I've not had a really great game in this so far. I've either had sort of good games, you know, a little bit average, that sort of thing, or terrible, where I get spotted and then all of a sudden I'm getting shot at from all different angles, and, you know, you can only angle against a couple of tanks. Well, I say you can only angle against a couple. You can only angle in one direction, that sort of thing. Or I've been having games that are a little bit like this one, to be honest, where the whole team do well, so nobody does, you know, exceptional. Do you see what I mean? There's those matches where a lot of the team might do, say, between 1500 and 2000 damage, and you might do 3000 damage. And then, you know, there's about half the team that do sort of 1000 or below. And then you get those other games, excuse me, you get the other games where everybody gets stuck in a bit, and everybody ends up doing around sort of 1500 to, you know, 2000 damage, that sort of thing, and it's sort of a very average game, and it's trying to keep up with it at that rate, should I say. And I've been averaging sort of myself most of the day in this around 1000, 1500 damage. I think I've had one or two games that were possibly 2000 or above, but most of the time they're very sort of, just like I say, average games in it. So yeah, unfortunately I can't bring you anything exceptional, but I can bring you a few games that show you some of this vehicle's strengths and weaknesses. And another one of those is, like I mentioned, the Commander's cupola on top. It's, even though it's rounded, it's sort of flat-sided, and that gets penned quite a lot. And what I've noticed is if people can't see your little turret on the front, which I think you can see has got a hit on it there, if people can't see that, then they just go straight for that Commander's cupola. So we've got a Centennial round here. I think I've got the back of him, but there's a lot of smoke, and my viewports are damaged as well, but I think it's just the smoke. And I managed to finish him off. But you'll see what I mean. Like I say, the whole team kind of does well, and all gets stuck in. And because of that, you know, like I say, everybody shares the damage out, really. I know, you know, I'm not complaining. Don't, you know, I know it sounds a little bit like I'm moaning, but, you know, it's good teamwork. The team seems to work well together, and you get the game, you know, you get it done, you get a win. But yeah, I've not really had anything particularly outstanding. I've got a Jagdpanther there. Is he this side of the train or the other? No, he's the other side. Gonna get a shot through the top there. No, bit high up. Oh, just a gap there, and I managed to just peek it through and take the last bit of damage off and kill him. And then all of a sudden the enemy down to 2. And it's pretty much been a lot of this, to be honest. There's been a lot of matches where our team's only really lost about 5 tanks, and we've wiped out the enemy team. Which doesn't happen to me, you know, it doesn't happen loads. Normally it comes down to, you know, 3 or 4 tanks on either team and they fight it out, but I've seen quite a few of these today, actually. More so today than I have done probably for the last couple of weeks put together. Let's see if I can't finish off this Type 59. I think I've switched to premium ammo, but I got his side anyway. The front of a Type 59 is quite tough, and from experience today in this, I have bounced a few times off the front of a Type 59. So there you go. Not a bad match, you know. Definitely not, but not an outstanding match. But I came out of it with just over 2,300 damage done. A second class mastery and a sniper. 2,105 XP, just 930 blocked, but then again, I didn't get shot at that often, to be fair. And I came top of the table, which is nice, but it was a tier 8 match, so you know, you sort of expected to do quite well when you're a top tier heavy in a you know, match like that. But again, I kind of went the wrong way, didn't really run into many tanks, and yeah, some of it's been down to bad luck, some of it's been down to bad judgment on my part, and like I say, I don't know, trying to get a handle on it a bit better, you know, a bit better. But anyway, here's the next one for you. I think it's another tier 8 match. Like I said earlier, yesterday this did play up to tier 10. Today it only plays up to tier 9, which I'm really happy about because I couldn't do a damn thing in tier 10 matches. So yeah, another tier 8 match, standard battle, Serene Coast. And again, it's a pretty sort of average match again. The team do well. Although, well, I say the team do well. The team do well at first, and then I don't know quite what happens. I think that's this one. If not, I'm probably just getting confused. Oh, and something, again, it wouldn't be me if I didn't forget something. I did forget to mention that you get 30 days of premium, 25 times 3 boost ops, included with the mega bundle as well. Right, so not many people seem to have gone over this way to this promontory. So hopefully there's not going to be a massive enemy force coming the other way, because although I think we could do quite well with the tanks that are over here, if they outnumber us they could just swarm us and take us down. Now I've just become quite conscious of the fact that I don't think I've actually got a tier 9 match replay for you today. I had one tier 9 match in this that was actually quite a good match, and I screwed up on recording the replay, which I was absolutely kicking myself over. But again, hopefully I'll be able to bring you a few more over the next week or so. Right, so we've got a Centennial just over there, and I've not got the best gun depression, but if I can just use a bit of this ridge, I'm tall and I can see over and I can hit that cupola on top. And if you can't get the hull of a Centennial, go for that machine gun turret, because it's not particularly strong, and if you can hit it dead on in the middle, you'll pen just about every time, to be fair. He's backed off a bit, and I'm not surprised. He's not been left with a great deal of health to play with. Something else about the KV-5 as well, by the way, it does have quite a decent health pool at 1,780, I think it is. I mean, to give you sort of an idea, the KV-4, I think fully upgraded, has 1,650 health. So, yeah, you've got that extra bit of health to mess about with as well. Managed to plant a nice hit on the Sture Emil, and he gets wiped out promptly by another team member. Now we've got a T-34-3. That one donked into the ground, and I couldn't be sure, to be honest, that I would have penned that anyway. They've got quite a good turret on them. Now I've been tracked and I've taken a couple of hits, but you could tell I was getting a little bit frustrated with just hanging around on that corner. So I go for that cupola, just waiting for that reload, and he ducks back just before, but he's popped out again, and he's done. And there's my tracks back up. Remember, this is the crew that came with it. I've not checked out the names yet, I do apologise. I said I'd try and do that for today, but it's been a bit of a hectic day actually. So I've just completely forgot about that, and I will get onto that tomorrow to see if the names of these crews actually mean anything to do with the myths that the tanks are based around. Now, I did consider going up there so I could charge down that bit of a drop on the other side on top of that T-34-2, I think it is, around there now, and I do a cheeky auto lock and just managed to take him out. I have been desperate all day to get on a map with big hills and try and charge down one and ram somebody, and all day I have failed. If I've got on a map with decent hills, there's just been nobody at the bottom, and the closest I came was landing on top of an IS-3 earlier, in fact on this map in a different match, but he dodged just at the last second and I just clipped him and did a tiny bit of damage, which again was quite disappointing. I've yet to feel the joy of charging down a hill in this beast and just ramming into some poor unsuspecting tank at the bottom. But I can imagine that's going to be quite a deal of fun. Right, well, anyway, we've managed to make quite a decent push round the promontory and in towards the cap, but the scores have been pulled back by the enemy team as well. So at this point I was actually thinking, if somebody, just one person, sits in cap, puts the pressure on a bit, and they may turn around and come back and we can start dealing with them as they do. But then I think somebody else decides to go and sit in cap as well and speed up the timer, which, to be fair, the odds were starting to get a little bit stacked against us, so I don't know. I'll leave that judgment call up to you, whether it's the right time to cap or not. And I just managed to take out that Type 59, was it? The Indian Panzer's hiding behind that building, so I'm going to go for him, and then something spots me, and yeah, it's a frying pan, an Object 416. I managed to get a good one into his tracks actually and track him, and he hits the floor. I'm going to beat his reload, put another one through his side, try and angle better, but he manages to pen the turret. And I think that's that angle I was talking about in the garage as well, that he actually penned it through. Managed to get another one into him, and he gets tracked, but then we cap out just before I can put the finishing shot into him. And there we go, 2,363 damage. So yeah, again, pretty much the same as the last match. A bit less experience this time, but I did block 1,500 damage this time round, and I got a Reaper, which is always good fun. I think that's for 3 tanks, 1 shot in them basically. And I came top of the table again, which is always nice. Yeah, it's always nice when you get at the top. But not many shots fired, and that's generally been how it, you know, sorry, generally, ugh. There we go, I've just forgotten how to speak English. That is generally how it's been today. Sort of quite average matches. Nothing stunning, nothing outstanding, just very average, steady games. But I think we've got the last one coming up for you now. Right, so here we are for you. It's the last one. It's Wide Park. Again, another Tier 8 match. Like I say, I just the only Tier 9 match I did anything near good in, I screwed up on the recording, so unfortunately we don't have it. But there's another Gorynych KV-5 on the enemy team, and it's an encounter battle. And I think I'm also right in saying that this is the first time we've had the KV-5 on the PlayStation 4, I'm pretty sure of that. But I think I'm also right in saying that you guys that are watching on Xbox, I think you've had the standard KV-5 before, haven't you? But if you can just let me know in the comments, but I think you've had that one anyway. And despite, you know, like I say, this is just a KV-5. But during the, I think it's the Monster Mash weekend, which is the Halloween weekend, the event that's going on, the Tier 6 Spectre, which I'm pretty sure again is the first time we'll have seen it on PlayStation 4, but you guys have had it Halloween before, I think. It's the Russian Ghost tank is coming on, and over that weekend apparently these 4 monster tanks will go into their awakened forms, and this is according to the newsfeed on World of Tanks console website, and will all gain a special ability, which will be quite fun to see. And I really cocked that one up, didn't I? Straight into the wall, and again, what a donk. So yes, inaccurate Russian gun. What do? Fire on the move, obviously. That makes it more accurate. Well, yeah, I don't know what the awakened forms are going to be. With the Gorinich being a fire-breathing 3-headed dragon, could it have a flamethrower, a bit like the Mark 1 had? That'd be quite interesting in a game. Let's see if I can take out that Sherman. Nope, and I'm taking a few hits, not really taking much damage. Let's see if I can put through the front of the LTTB, and no, it bounced. I know they've got quite a good turret, but I thought 167 pen would have gone through. But yeah, I don't know what the special abilities of the other tanks will be. Maybe the Lycan will transform into something like an M103 in the middle of a match. Or, yeah, the Revenant Panther will just become invisible. That'd be quite funny. The Kaiju, God knows, maybe it just starts an earthquake. Right, well, when I'm quite done donking shots into walls and the ground and everything but a tank, maybe I'll get my arse in gear and actually do something in this match. But I'll give you a little spoiler, it's not the damage that I do, the reason that I've put this one on. It's Well, it's all the bouncers and the damage that I block that was quite decent. And I was failing at side scraping in this position because, well, there's not much room and this is quite a long tank. So I got myself positioned better and start side scraping again, and I can just see the Tiger, and I managed to damage the engine. Would have liked to have set him on fire, but you can't have everything. Now, this is where you'll see that 167 pen on your standard ammunition starting to be a little bit ineffective. That's a KV-13. Now, they are a tier 7 medium. They are quite a well-armoured tier 7 medium, and in fact, it's a, in my opinion, it's a very good and very overlooked tier 7 medium. I think it's got 120mm of armour on the front, and you could see at this distance, maybe for the lower plate there, I mean, it's going wide, because, like I say, the accuracy isn't brilliant, but it's just bouncing off harmlessly. So I decided to be a scrub lord and switched to premium ammunition. Then my attention gets got by a Type 59, and he gets a dose of APCR instead. And I get another one into him, and you can see all the bouncers, and that's when I switch back to the AP, because I realise I don't need APCR to get through the side of that. Now, can I get one into that CDC? Yep. I'm going from roughly where the ammo racks are. Well, it's not hard in a CDC, it's basically made of ammo racks inside. And somebody else manages to take him out. KV-13's taken some damage and backed off, and yeah, take another hit. And again, it was on that angle, that sort of cheek of the turret where the angles are there, that's where it penned. Type 59's done, and again, one of those matches I've not really done much apart from donk shots and almost get stuck. And then the match is nearly over. But again, don't blame the tank. It's me. I'm crapping it. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but I am determined to improve. I want to be a good KV-5 driver. And like I said in the garage, I think on the PC it received a buff to that weak spot on the front, and possibly some of the other armour as well. And that's it, match over. So that was the second part of the 4-part Monsters Among Us review special, the Gorinich KV-5. So I hope that, you know, I may have been able to help you make your mind up as to whether you'd actually like to shell out for that pack, 'cause it is a lot, or whether you'd like to wait for the other two. And yeah, the money wise, I did complete an ASOP in there as well. But I did come out of it with a Confederate and a steel wall and 6,860 blocked, which is really nice. Not top of the table, did nowhere near enough damage. Not my record for blocked, that's in the KV-4, and it was just over 9,000 damage, and I've got a screenshot. I'm going to have to stick that up in one of the videos. Anyway, I hope that's been useful for you, and I'll be back tomorrow with the Kaiju review. So as always, take care out there, and I will catch you next time. See you later.